I'll sleep with my sister. Well, I'll stay in my sister's room, which is confusing because how did he get here? And how did they let him in the gates? But also, anyway, just think about that for a second. Freaking weird. Yeah. Hello and welcome back, or welcome to my channel if you are new here. As you can tell by my visual appearance, I am not well, but what better to do when you are unwell than to read books? So I was not planning on starting this vlog today, clearly, as you can see. But this is the next book that is up on like my list of books to read, and I told myself that as part of the year of the series, which hopefully you saw that video already, I was gonna try to do vlogs for each book in every series that I am starting. So if it's a series that I've already started, I'm already in the middle of, I'm not gonna do, or I don't plan on doing vlogs for those. But if it's a new series that I'm starting, which most of them are, then I wanted to vlog that experience and kind of more so document it for me, but also for you as well. I feel like this will be a good way that if there are more books in the series, it'll just be like a quick and easy way where if you need like to catch up on like what happened, like here's kind of like a quick overview of whatever happened in this particular book. So I plan on doing one of these for every book in every series that I am starting for the year of the series, and the time has come for me to start the very first one, and that is going to be for Caraval by Stephanie Garber. This beautiful physical copy that you see in my hand was given to me, gifted to me by Samantha Donovan. I will also link her channel down below as well as part of the Secret Santa that Meredith hosted, which I will also link her channel down below. Go subscribe to all of these wonderful, wonderful ladies. They're all beautiful people inside and out. So I highly recommend subscribing to them. I think I talked about this in my year of the series video, but the reason why I want to read this series is because I actually want to read Once Upon a Broken Heart, which I also have no idea what that's about, but I've heard really good things about it, so I'm willing to just pick it up blindly. Once Upon a Broken Heart is like the spin-off series to this series, and I know you don't have to read Caraval to read Once Upon a Broken Heart. I know, I've heard it before, but yes, I do have to read this series first. It is mandatory in my brain that I have to read this series before I can read the other one. So here we are. What was I saying? Oh yeah, I was flipping through this book and it has like some cool little like letters and stuff. I don't know what this is all about. And then there's like some illustrations somewhere I saw. Oh yeah, like this page. This is so pretty. Like, do you see this? This is like a gorgeous paperback edition of a book. Like, slay. So yeah, let's get into it. So I made it to chapter 10 and I am enjoying like the magic of this place where things just like appear. But like, let's go back to the beginning. So this book starts off with like her writing letters to Legend, who's like the ringmaster or something of this performance that happens once a year. And she like is writing to him because like she wants them to tour and like come to like her city basically. And she writes to him for like 7 years, and then finally she writes to him and she's like, I'm about to get married, so I'm not gonna write you anymore. And he's like, oh, it's your lucky day, I'm gonna send you tickets. And so he gives her tickets to the show finally, now that she's not even really interested in it anymore. But of course, once she gets the ticket, knowing that this has been like a lifelong goal of hers up to this point, she is like super excited. But also her father has like a very like tight thumb on her and her sister, and she's like, we'll never be able to go, like father's never gonna let us go to this show. And their dad is a dick. Like, I don't know what's with this dude. Like, this book starts off with like child abuse. Like, I'm just like, whoa, okay, I thought I was getting like a little lighthearted fantasy. Like, he's literally abusing his children. Like, somebody needs to call CPS on this man. And the sister's like, oh no, we're going, like we're escaping. I met this sailor yesterday, and like he's gonna take us to the place where the show is, and we're never coming back. And the main character, Scarlett, is like, no, father will be so mad, and I'm betrothed to this man. I'm supposed to be getting married in a week. We can't leave. And the sister's like, F that. We're getting out of here tomorrow, and we're never coming back. I'm leaving. If you want to stay, you can have that, but I'm out of here. So Charlotte tries to go bribe the sailor, and she's like, hey, I'll give you my tickets if you make sure that my sister doesn't leave with you. If you can do that, these tickets are yours. And then next thing you know, she gets like chloroformed and like kidnapped, and I'm just like, where is this book going? And then she wakes up like 2 days later on a raft, and he's like rowing them in the sea. This was like your sister's idea. It was all her idea. So like, you know, if you have an issue, like take it up with her. They get to the island, and like when they wash up on shore, it's like snow or something on the ground. I don't have a great imagination when it comes to like reading books and imagining what I'm reading. I'm really bad at that. So I don't know how this book is gonna work for me. But I think there's like snow on the beach or something. And she's like looking at the snow, and she's like, well, if my sister's already here, why aren't there any footprints in the snow? They don't really know where the entrance is. They just kind of like, you know, washed up on the shore, and they're trying to figure out how to get into this Caraval place or whatever. They finally find their way into the entrance, and then they meet this girl on like a unicycle. The vibes were kind of weird. And then like she basically is like, all right, you're here. The options where you can either play or spectate. They decide to play. There's some fishy stuff going on with Julian. I don't really know what his story is, but I'm pretty sure there's something going on with him. I don't know if he's like a minion or like is secretly working for the legend dude, or like if he has some kind of debt he has to pay or something. I don't know. But I feel like there's gonna be a romance between Charlotte and Julian. I don't really want there to be, but I can already kind of see that it's brewing. He was like into her sister. That was how she met him. She literally met him while he was like fondling her sister. So the fact that there is possibly gonna be a romance between these two characters, it's a little weird. But yeah, that's how far I have gotten so far. I'm gonna read a little bit more. I will check in with you guys in a bit. So I just wanted to do a quick little check-in because I'm about to go to bed, and I feel like if I go to bed, I'm not gonna remember well enough to be able to tell you tomorrow. Like, I'd rather tell you now the update while it's fresh in my brain before I go to sleep, because a lot has actually happened. I think I'm up to like chapter 14 or 15 right now. And so the game has started. Also, this whole time I was under the impression that this whole Caraval thing was like a show or a performance. I pictured it as like literally like Circus Soleil or like what is it, Barnum and Brothers or whatever, but it's actually like an interactive like game, which I didn't understand until I started reading about it. And so now they're in the game, and like they get these clues. She thought that her sister was playing the game just like they're playing the game, so she was like trying to find her sister so that they could like play the game together. And then now she realizes that her sister is not like playing the game like she is. Like the whole point of the game is to locate her sister. So obviously her and Julian are trying to play the game to find her sister, but also like there's a bunch of other contestants or participants or whatever that are also trying to find Charlotte's sister. So she's competing against these people, like trying to find the clues, racing against the clock kind of thing. Time is backwards. So like everything, instead of everything being open during the day and closed at night, I think everything is open at night and closed during the day here for whatever reason. It's not good to be outside during, or like it's not safe or something to be outside during the day or whatever. And if they don't get to their hotel on time, then they're out of the game. They are basically eliminated at that point. And so he's like trying to drag her, and she's like, where's my sister? Where's my sister? So he's like, we can either stand out here and try to find her and risk like being in danger ourselves, or we can try to go to the inn and hope that she's there. So they go to the inn, and I guess it's like the final seconds to get in. And so Charlotte gets in, and by the time Charlotte gets in the door, right before Julian can get in, the door closes and locks him out. But her like name dropping who she was they were like, oh, okay. So they open the door, they let him in, they get the keys to their room. It turns out that their room, even though they have room 8 and room 9, it turns out that room 8 and room 9 is actually just one big room. So haha, jokes on them, with only one bed in the room. And so obviously she's furious about that because she's betrothed to another. She can't sleep in the same bed as another man. She meets these two random people in the hallway. I forget what their name was. It's like Valencia and Deontay or something. I just made those names up. It's something like that though. It was like, you can have my room for the night. I'll sleep with my sister. Rephrase that. I'll stay in my sister's room. You can have my room for the night. And then she wakes up. She goes back to her sister's room. When she goes back to her sister's room, the room room is like in shambles, everything is a mess. She figures out, like I said, that her sister's room is the clue, and that this whole thing was pretty much staged, that her sister was probably never even in the room to begin with. She goes to see like a fortune teller, which was weird because Julian was the one that suggested that she go see this fortune teller, so I thought that was really odd. You're not going to be able to find your sister and still get married. So if you want to get married, you just need to leave the game and forget about your sister, or if you want your sister, then you can forget about getting married. That was pretty much the takeaway from her getting her fortune told. He tells her to follow the boy with the black heart or something like that, which I don't really know what that means. She thinks that that means Julian. I don't think it means Julian. It could mean Deontay, but I don't really know. We'll see how the story progresses, if there are any other characters that are introduced, but I'm assuming that it's probably Deontay, and the fact that she thinks it is Julian is probably a misdirect. That's the recap of what has happened in these last few chapters. I will say that this book is not slow. It's not necessarily super fast paced, but it's fast enough that like it's hard to get bored, which is good. It's keeping me entertained. I do find myself like wanting to continue the story and see where things go. I will finish out this chapter. I'm like in the middle of, I don't know what chapter I'm on, but I'm in the middle of a chapter, so I'm gonna finish this chapter out and then I'm gonna go to bed, and then I will read some more tomorrow. I think the last time I checked in with you guys, I was around chapter like 15 or 16 or something, and now I am up to chapter, I think like 20 or 21 or 19, somewhere in there. So she met this girl in like a bar or a tavern or something. She ends up making a deal with this girl. This girl has like a clue, like this girl that she met in the tavern has like a clue that she needs, but in order to get the clue, she wants Charlotte to like buy 2 dresses. The cost for these dresses is 2 days of your life, or I think one dress, the price was like your deepest darkest secret or your deepest fear or something like that, and the other one I think is like your deepest desire. And it's like a almost like a polygraph basically. And so she pays for one dress with the little polygraph thing and whatever, good to go. And then she goes to pay for the other one, and the question is like, what is your deepest desire? She's like, my deepest desire is to save my sister. And they're like, that's the wrong answer. She's like, no, really, like that's my deepest desire. No, sorry, it's not. So then she ends up having to pay for the dress with 2 days of her life, which she thought it was gonna be 2 days at the end of her life. So like if she was gonna die on a Tuesday, she would just end up dying on like Sunday instead. She then realized that no, we take the 2 days now. Like you're gonna die for 2 days and then you'll come back, which she was not prepared for. And that was really interesting. I thought the whole like lie detector, the way it was like set up, it was very cool. I did really like that. The way it was like jimmy rigged and stuff, how it worked. But also the fact that she's like dying, she's like trying to get back to her room and she's like dying as she's trying to get back to her room. It reminds me of that scene in Hercules where he's like swimming in the water and he's like dying as he's swimming. I think the fortune teller was the one that told her to follow the boy with the black heart, and she realizes now that Dante, I think his name is Dante, I think I might have been calling him Deontay or something earlier. His name is Dante, I'm pretty sure. He has a tattoo of like a black heart on his arm or something. So now she thinks that that's who she's supposed to be following and not Julian, which I kind of figured that it wasn't Julian because that just seemed too obvious, too on the nose for it to be Julian. I find it very strange that Julian keeps disappearing, and part of me is wondering, like, is he working for the game? Does he work for Legend? Is he Legend? Like, is he Legend's son or something? Like, I don't know, I just got like this random flashback to like Halloween Town, Calabar's Revenge, and how it was about the son or whatever. Anyway, but like her father's on the island looking for her, which is confusing because how did he get here? And how did they let him in the gates? But also, anyway, she's like trying to run away from her father so that he can't find her. She goes into this like secret passageway, and then when she goes into the tunnel from the secret passageway, she finds a dead body, and the dead body is Dante, which I was also not expecting. What the heck? How did Dante die? I didn't think he was gonna die. I thought that he was Legend, if anything. So now I'm confused. And then she basically accuses Julian of being Legend, and Julian's like, I'm not Legend. Rosa was my sister, and Rosa was Dante's fiance. And I'm like, oh, interesting. Like, Julian keeps giving me the vibes. If you've ever seen Spy Kids 3D, and there's like the deceiver, and it turns out, I mean, this movie came out so long ago, this is a spoiler for you. Sorry, not sorry. But the girl ends up being the deceiver. For some reason, I feel like that's Julian's role in this. Like, he's the deceiver in the game or something. I'm gonna read a little bit more. I'm doing sprints right now. I'm also still extremely sick, and I have a really bad like splitting headache right now, but it's all good because it's the holly jolly spirit time of year. am back with another update. I think I just finished chapter 35. I have no idea what the last chapter was that I read like the last time I did an update, but a lot of things that like have changed, I guess. So she ends up finding Legend, and then it turns out that apparently Julian and Dante have been working for Legend this entire time, which is, I'm not surprised by this because I always knew that something was off about Julian, so not surprised. Still a little bit confused about is why he's helping Legend do all of this, like for what. And also apparently Rosa is not his sister. She's just some random chick who died playing the game, so that's confusing. The fact that like we were told that it was his sister and now it's not. So like, okay, Legend decided to stab Julian, so now Julian's dead, but some stuff is real and some stuff is just an illusion. So like, is Julian actually dead, or is it just part of the game? Once she finds the sister, she wins the game, she gets to Legend, and she's supposed to be granted like a wish. I think she's gonna wish for Julian to come back to life, which, girl, do not waste your wish on this man that's been lying to you this entire time. Granted, has he helped her throughout the game? Yes, he has helped her, I guess. So I'm not sure if Julian's actually dead. Legend has disappeared again, and now she has found her sister, and she's like, tell her like we gotta get out of here, like he's gonna try to kill us. And Tella's like, everything's fine. The game is over, you won. And so I don't know, is this an illusion? Like, did she win the game? Is Legend trying to kill them? I really don't know. I really just don't know what's happening. I don't know if it was Legend, but somebody asked Scarlett if she had to choose between like her sister and Julian, who would she pick? And I'm pretty sure she never answered that question. And so I feel like the ending of this book is gonna like play out that way, where she's gonna have to make a choice between the two. Or maybe it won't be in this book, maybe it'll be like in a later book in the series where she'll have to make that choice. I just find it interesting that she was specifically asked that question, and I'm almost positive that she did not ever answer the question. So I feel like it's gonna come back up at some point. So I finally finished the book. So recap, it turns out, let me see if I can remember everything that just happened, because it was like a lot of like reveals and stuff that happened towards the end. So Tella's like, there's this guy that I met since I've been here, and he's gonna take care of us. His name is Daniel or something. And so she brings Daniel in, and then Scarlett sees Daniel and she's like, that man's name is not Daniel. That man's name is Legend. Like, that is Legend. She's like, what? No, you're being crazy. His name's not Legend. His name is Daniel. He's my fiance. I'm like, okay, you've been here for like 3 days and you got engaged to this man? Okay. So Daniel Legend ends up kind of like tricking Scarlett into making herself look like a crazy person. Tella went to go do something. I don't know if she went to like change her clothes or something she went to go do. And while she's like out of the room, Scarlett and Legend Daniel are talking to each other, and she's just like, leave my sister alone, leave her out of this, like I'll do whatever you want as long as you don't hurt her. And she offers to like jump off the ledge and basically die if it means that he will not harm her sister. She starts walking towards the balcony, slowly inching her way back, and once she gets out there and she's on the ledge, he's like, oh my gosh, Tella, your sister, like I'm trying to stop her, basically trying to make it look like Scarlett was just for no reason trying to hurt herself, when that's not what happened. He set her up to make her look crazy. And so he's like, yeah, we gotta tie her up for her own sake. And then once she's tied up, then her dad and her fiance come in. Then Tella decides that she can't take this anymore. This is just too much. And she had said in the beginning, I think, like in the very beginning, that she'd rather die than like have to go back and live with their father. So she's like back on that again. She jumps off the balcony, and so now, you know, everybody looks and she's on the ground, splattered, blood everywhere. Like everybody just kind of leaves. They're like, you know, everybody's like, dang, that just happened. So Scarlett eventually gets free. I don't remember how she got free. And she goes outside to her sister and she's crying. Oh no, my sister's dead. You know, wow, I'm so sad. Crying, trying to wish her back to life. It's not working. And then it does work. And then Tella comes back. And then we get into this whole like exposition chapter where Tella is basically telling Scarlett everything that really happened. Turns out basically that Tella and Legend have been corresponding long before Legend had sent Charlotte the letter with the invitation and the tickets to come to Caraval. And as she's talking to Legend Daniel, it turns out that his name is not Legend or Daniel. His name is Calabar, I don't know. His name is something else. He's not the actual Legend. He's just an actor who's playing the role of Legend. They put together this whole gang to basically get away from their father. That's basically what this whole thing was for. It was this big elaborate ruse so that they could escape from their father, because with their father believing that Tella jumped to her death, then he can't obviously do anything with Tella because she's dead, and he doesn't really have anything that he can use to manipulate Charlotte anymore, because the way that he was manipulating his daughters was if one of them did something bad, he would punish the other one, and so he was kind of using them against each other. But if it's just the one daughter, he doesn't have anything to like hold over them or like use to manipulate them, so he's kind of just like, huh, okay, I'm out of here. Like, imagine your whole daughter dying and you just leave it. It turns out that Julian and Dante are both alive, so although they did technically die during the game, because they're actors, any of the actors that are part of the game that die during the game, they just get automatically revived when the game is over. So they're not really dead. They're dead, but they're not dead. Whereas with Tella, I don't even know really. It wasn't really clearly explained how Charlotte brought Tella back to life, but it was like she had to want it bad enough basically for it to happen. So it's not a really good explanation of how you just want somebody to be alive bad enough they just get resurrected or something. I don't know. It doesn't really make sense, but it doesn't matter. The point is, if she had not wanted it bad enough and she was not able to like will Tella back to life, Tella would have stayed dead, because Tella was not an actor. So if you're not an actor in the show or in the game, when you die, you did dead. But I guess it was kind of like a cast party. If you've ever been to a cast party, it was kind of like that. So like everybody's getting together to like celebrate the show and, you know, it being over or whatever. And so they get all dressed up and they go to this cast party. That's not what they called it, but that's basically what it is. I don't know what they actually called this party. And she talks to Julian and they kind of get the closure that they need, and she, you know, she finally gets to talk to him and they kiss and, you know, the typical romancy stuff. And then the epilogue ends with Tella dancing with some strange person, and we don't know who she's dancing with. I don't even think she knows who she's dancing with. And then suddenly the person like leaves her on the dance floor and like walks away mysteriously, disappears into the crowd, and she had something in her pocket when the person walks away that wasn't in her pocket before. And whatever's in her pocket, I think it was a letter or something. It was something in her pocket that basically said, you know, you owe me now. I'm ready. I'm gonna be calling in, you know, your debt soon. I'm assuming that the next book is probably going to focus more on Donatella than it is going to focus on Charlotte, which is fine with me because Charlotte wasn't my favorite character to follow in the first place, and I still don't like Julian. I mean, now that I know that he's not... Oh, also another thing that we found out is that Julian is Legend's brother. Another random thing that I'm hoping that maybe they do more with this, the author does more with this in like later books, but we do get confirmation that Legend, I believe, used to date their grandmother, like Charlotte and Tella's grandmother, and Legend used to be involved like back in the day, and then she basically dumped him for their grandfather. If Legend and Julian are brothers and Legend dated their grandmother and Julian is dating sort of Charlotte, that's weird, okay? I just need you to think about that for a second. Imagine dating your grandmother's ex-boyfriend's brother. Just think about that for a second. Freaking weird. I don't dislike him, I just don't have a reason to like him, if that makes any sense. So if we're not going to be following him and Charlotte in the next book, I'm okay with that because I don't really care that much about either one of them, to be quite honest. What are my thoughts on this book? I think I'm going to rate this book, I'm kind of torn between 4 and like 4.25, like somewhere in there. I haven't really decided exactly what I'm gonna lock in when I do my rating on Storygraph, but that's kind of where I'm sitting at right now. I liked the world. I loved how like magical it was and how things kind of like shift and transform, and you know how things are, you know, very mysterious and you never really know kind of thing. I really like the world and like the game and stuff like that. It definitely keeps you on your toes. It's interesting. You want to keep reading because you want to know what's going to happen next. I definitely like the pacing of the book. I thought it was really good. Yeah, so like overall I enjoyed the book. Some of the things that I did not like, I think the things that I disliked the most is being lied to. Like, The fact that we were told, for example, that Julian was Rosa's brother and Dante was Rosa's fiance, and like none of those things were true. And there were some other things throughout the story that we were just completely lied to about, and then you find out later what the truth is, and I don't like that. I don't mind being misled. I think I've probably said this already. I don't mind being misled. I think it's actually really good when a book is able to mislead you without blatantly lying to you. I feel like if you have to lie to me to mislead me, then you're cheating. The other thing that I didn't really care for was that big like exposition chapter. I feel like the fact that Tella had to basically tell us all this information, like just run down like here's what happened, I did this, 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 and this, and this person did this person did this. I feel like it would have been better if the author had showed these things to us versus us just being told in like word vomit style from Tella all the things that happen. So I didn't really like, I don't know, it just felt lazy to me the way that we found out all this information at the end. It was just like you get to, you know, 90-95% and then suddenly like info dump. I just didn't, I feel like that could have been done differently, could have been done better, could have been done in a more creative way, especially with this book being as like magical and creative as it is. For us to just get like a word vomit info dump moment at the end of the book, it was just like, okay. This was fun, like I'm not gonna lie, this was fun. I didn't particularly care for any of the characters, if I'm being totally honest. It's the world. Like the world in this book and the way that like the magic and stuff works, how magical this place is, and how like things are like shifting and changing and you can hear colors and see tastes. Like it's just a really cool world to be in, and I'm very excited to see how, you know, this world is utilized in future books. But the characters themselves I actually couldn't care less about. I didn't necessarily feel very connected to any of the characters in the story. I didn't feel like they were necessarily super relatable, other than the fact that like Charlotte was very like cautious all the time and didn't trust anybody. That's super relatable to me personally. But that aside, there's nothing else about any of the characters in this story where I felt like I related to them or connected to them or like really cared about them. Kind of just like, nah. Hopefully you enjoyed this little reading spoiler vlog for Caraval. I do plan on doing one for Legendary whenever I end up reading it. Also let me know what other series you would like to see me vlog. You can of course drop that down below in the comments as well. In the meantime, all my socials and links will be down below in the description as usual. Be sure to like, comment, share, and subscribe, and I will see you guys in the next video. Bye.